Obsessed CEO throws himself at me. Chapter 3. Wait for her to make a fool of herself. Vinson pressed his voice and said, "Are you sure that's your wish? I'll give you another chance." Arielle knitted her brows and looked at him. "You want to grant me another wish? Do you think you are the magical genie?" Everyone, including Shandier and Cindy, looked at Vinson and Arielle in disbelief. "What's going on? Does this beggar know Vinson?" Vinson gazed into her eyes. When he was about to respond to her question, Henrik interrupted. "Nice to see you, Mr. Nightshire. Why didn't you tell me you are coming?" All the guests' jaws dropped when Henrik greeted Vinson. Cindy instantly closed her eyes as she dared not imagine what would happen next. What on earth is happening? Henrik finally noticed something was amiss and started looking around. A sudden frown warped his face the moment he saw Arielle. Henrik turned to Shandier and said, "Why did you invite a beggar to our birthday party? Get her out of here." Shandier froze for a moment, even though deep in her heart she was pleased with his reaction. "Dad, she's..." "Dad," Arielle interrupted. "Don't you remember me? I'm Sanye." Sanye was Arielle's nickname. "San?" Henrik raised his brows and widened his eyes in shock. "You are Arielle?" "Yes, Dad. I'm Arielle." She walked up to him. Arielle did not remember anything that had happened a decade ago, but she remembered that familiar face. Upon hearing that, Henrik staggered. Fear was written all over his face as he was afraid that his secret would be exposed. Arielle knew what was going through his mind. In a steady voice, she continued, "We have not met for years. I miss you so much." Henrik was at a loss for words. He had no choice but to give her a pat on the shoulder. "Welcome back, honey. But what happened to you and Mr. Nightshire? Why do the both of you look so messy?" All the guests then started paying attention to Vinson's clothes. They were so drawn to the man himself that they did not notice how wet his clothes were. Shandier cast a puzzled look at Arielle and Vinson. Is there something going on between these two? But she somehow dismissed her suspicion. Vinson falling in love with this country bumpkin? No way. Unless he's blind. Upon seeing how awkward the atmosphere had become, Cindy stepped in and said, "I think it was Mr. Nightshire who brought Arielle home." "Really?" Henrik seemed to be a little less disgusted by Arielle after hearing that. Since she was still young and doesn't remember a thing from her childhood, I guess she doesn't exactly know what happened. Imagine the benefits we can reap if we could use her to get closer to the Nightshires. Henrik instantly plastered a smile to his face and looked at Vinson. "So you are Arielle's friend. Thanks for bringing her back to us. If you don't mind, would you like to stay back, clean up a little, and dine with us?" Cindy added, "Oh, yes. We have extra pairs of clothes for our guests." Vinson initially wanted to turn down their offer, but he could not stand wearing that sea-soaked clothes anymore. Since Vinson did not reject his offer, Henrik extended his hand and showed him the direction to the guest room. He then whispered in Cindy's ear, "Clean Arielle up too." Cindy and Henrik had been married for nearly a decade, so she understood what he wanted her to do. It was clear that Henrik wanted to use Arielle to get in the Nightshire issued books. Damn it! Why is luck on Arielle's and not my daughter's side? Maureen had been oppressing Cindy when she was still alive. I'll never allow her daughter to step all over mine. Cindy nodded and played along. She then pulled Shandier aside and said, "Bring her to the bathroom. She's your older sister now, so be nice to her." Shandier was able to read between the lines. She turned around and put on a smile. "Hey, Arielle. Let's go to the bathroom, shall we?" Arielle did not believe that the mother-daughter duo would accept her into the family. Yet, she hid her suspicion and responded with a grin. "Okay." They held hands and walked into the mansion. Meanwhile, other guests continued to exchange whispers as they tried to figure out what Vinson was doing here. No matter what the reason was, it was clear that from now on, they would have to show more respect to the Southalls. At the guest room upstairs, Shandier said. You can stay here temporarily while we tidy up your room. And you can also find all the toiletries here. I'll bring you a dress. All right. Thank you, Arielle responded. Oh, before I forget. Shandier turned around and asked. Do you know how to use the water heater? We've fixed the temperature, so you don't have to adjust it anymore. She reminded kindly but somehow forgot to hide the disdain in her eyes. Arielle seemingly did not notice her expression. She responded with a gentle smile. Thanks. Does she really think I don't know how to use the water heater? Great. I'll bring your dress over. Sandy smiled and walked out of the room. After closing the door, the smile on her face disappeared almost instantly. She took out a handkerchief and cleaned her hands thoroughly before throwing it on the floor. Her hand stinks. And her body stinks. Everything about her stinks. Vinson must have brought her here by accident. I'm sure he wouldn't like a filthy woman like Arielle. Meanwhile, Arielle was taking her own sweet time enjoying a nice warm bath in the bathroom. Even she felt disgusted by how she looked and smelled after spending a week on the island. As the warm water streamed down from her head to toes, she wiped off all the dirt on her face, revealing her fair complexion. Her delicate face with fine features made her look like a dainty little fairy. About 10 minutes later, Shandier knocked on the door. Arielle, can you please open the door? I want to pass you the dress. I've also placed a pair of heels near the door. You can wear them later. All right. Arielle opened the door slightly to retrieve the dress. Once again, she did not see the disgust and mockery on Shandier's face. The dress Shandier gave to Arielle was a couture dress by Gucci. It was more costly than the dress she was wearing now. Though it took her some effort to get her hands on the dress, she could not wear it as it had a specific cut. Its wearer must be slim and possess a supermodel-like physique. At the same time, the person needed to have a busty, curvaceous figure to be able to fit in the dress. Without an hourglass figure, any ordinary woman would look plump in it. Since Shandier had broad shoulders but no collarbones, the dress would look unflattering on her. This was why she did not wear it for tonight's party. Once that hideous woman comes out with that dress, I'm sure all the guests would laugh at her. Welcome to download Flipread app to read more chapters of Obsessed CEO Throws Himself at Me novel online.